Liverpool up against Real Madrid tonight. Of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold coming back to Anfield. We'll get into that very shortly. A lot to get through, and I keep on saying that, but I mean it. And this is an example of why. A week on Saturday, Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. It happens again for the second time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I was there for the first one. If it's anything like that, it's going to be a barnstormer. Last month, during a launch press conference, Eubank Jr. made a bizarre allegation that his ambulance was blocked from leaving the stadium post-fight. That was a claim that saw legal action being threatened against him by Eddie Hearn.
After the fight, due to severe dehydration, I'm put in an ambulance and I have to go to hospital. I was actually so dehydrated that one of the toenails on my big toe fell off. These scumbags blocked that ambulance from leaving the stadium for 20 minutes.
By the way, this is an intrigue. I'll keep going because this is all being noted because it's absolute waffle.
20 minutes.
Waffle.
Waffle. I'm laying there in a gurney, oxygen mask on, and the car cannot move. They will not open the gates to let us leave.
Now, who won't open the gates?
Now, if this was a serious injury that I had sustained, that 20 minutes...
Chris, I want to know who wouldn't open the gates. It's important.
That 20 minutes...
You can't answer that, can you?
...could have been the difference between life and death.
Can you just confirm that you are accusing us...
I am
Matchroom?
Yes.
Okay, say it.
You guys
blocked
me from
getting
out.
Say it.
Now, I was behind the scenes that night. I was talking to Conor Benn, but I didn't see anything of what Eubank was talking about. Now, Eubank Jr. has taken to his own social media feed to share footage of his ambulance allegedly being blocked post-fight. So this morning, if you're watching, there it is. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the clip. We're running it now. There's the ambulance, and that is in the bowels of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So Eubank Jr. captioned the footage with the message, "This is footage of my ambulance being blocked from leaving the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on April 26th. My team shouting at security to open the gate so that we can get to hospital. At this point, I've been in the back of that ambulance for over 20 minutes. Eddie Hearn told everyone I lied about this, but the truth is it happened. And we have to make situations like this, make sure they don't ever happen again in our sport. Boxing is dangerous enough. We cannot then have fighters being stopped from getting medical attention after they fight." There is footage of what Eubank Jr. is alleging. So, if that is true, is it a slightly alarming situation for the sport? You'd have to think yes. If it's not true, why is Eubank Jr. doing this? Robert Smith is the General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control. Robert, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks again for joining Simon and myself live on the show this morning. I'll put that to you. If it's true, it's alarming for your sport. If it's not, what's Eubank Jr. up to?
Well, I think, as I've said before, and as you already indicated, there is legal claims going on at the present time, and I can't go too deeply into what we're doing and what he said, etc., which is unfortunate because I'd like to. However, I can tell you that before any tournament, we have a security, certainly at a big venue, we have a security meeting that takes place to deal with all these issues. That did take place in that tournament. We obviously investigated any issues that happened on an evening. We have done that. And we've had further meetings with the venue, etc. And I'm satisfied now that we have in place all procedures to make sure a boxer is looked after the best we possibly can in a safe environment. Now, as you know, that when matters on live events with TV, etc., and everybody running around and whatever, there's a lot of people who don't know what's going on, and we've investigated that. So I can't go any further than that because of possible legal proceedings.
Right, but you can tell me either a yes or a no. Was Eubank Jr.'s vehicle, was the ambulance blocked from leaving the stadium?
As I said to you, I cannot go into that at the present time because of legal proceedings. And if I said anything now, that could influence whatever happens in the future.
Robert, just out of curiosity, having had a football stadium and hired it out for private events and knowing that to some extent the responsibility for access in and out of the stadium was mine as the venue owner, who is responsible for access control, and who was responsible for security in the stadium? Was it Tottenham Hotspur because they were engaged to provide the environment, or was it a combination of Tottenham Hotspur and the security that the boxing environment would have produced itself?
The venues are responsible for the in and out of the venue, especially in the football ground. It's slightly different in leisure centres and whatever, because obviously you don't have those facilities. But the venue is responsible for the security of in and out of the access of the venue. Obviously, the promoter is responsible for the security within the bowl of the arena, etc., and on the outside and outside dressing rooms. So it's a combination of two, but the venue is responsible for in and out of access in and out of a venue.
And where do you come into the mix, Robert, in terms of, besides being the governing body of the sport itself and holding people to the standards that they should adhere to, where do you come into these conversations besides being in a position of administrative control over the industry?
Well, obviously, we have to work with the promoter and the venues, and they have to abide by our regulations, etc. So we will supply all the doctors, make sure everything's in place at the medical room, etc. So obviously, when we heard about so-called issues, we looked into it, we investigated it straight away. We've then organised another meeting with the venue and the promoters' representatives and security, and that's moving forward.
So the standards, the standards and governance that you set for the requirement of this event, I'm assuming, have been met by the promoter.
Yes.
Well, there's your answer.
Well, there's the answer, Robert, isn't it?
But the answer is everything went well with regard. The promoter did not do anything wrong that night with regard to procedures on the night.
Well, there's the answer, isn't it? So, so the ball's back in Eubank Jr.'s court.
The accusation was against Mr. Hearn and the board.
Right.
I can tell you that Mr. Hearn had nothing to do with any issue outside the dressing room.
Right. So what Eubank Jr. is alleging is nonsense.
Well, as I said, there's legal procedures. I'd love to tell you what I really think. But
no, but Robert, hang on a second. You cannot keep hiding behind this legal proceedings, etc., etc. You either can or you can't assure us that a boxer's safe exit from a stadium was not blocked by someone else on the night.
Jim, I'm not hiding behind anything.
That's exactly what you're doing.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you a fact. I cannot go into too much at the present time because legal procedures are taking place. Once they're out the way, we can look at it after that. But I can't give you any more information with regard to any further questions you have.
Is the standards?
This was also advised previous to me coming onto the meeting.
No, got it, Robert. Got to understand what you will and won't say. And we all read between the lines, so we understand where your position is. As far as the standards are concerned, your standards for the policing, maintenance, security, access, all of this stuff for a boxing environment are fit for purpose, right?
Yes.
Right. So there's no question about them being fit for purpose. And there's no question about Eddie Hearn and the promotional team doing anything other than meeting the standards that enable the event to be put on in a safe and secure environment.
Yes.
Right. So what we're basically saying is it's a spurious claim from Chris Eubank. And the reality of it is it's about background noise to perhaps create another narrative for a fight that's already had its narratives run left, right and centre for the first set of outcomes.
I'm not going to argue with you that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you said previously to us there, Robert, that everybody's got to abide by your regulations, the British Boxing Board of Control's regulations. And then you told us there that you're happy enough, that the board is happy with its own performance in all of this, and you're comfortable as well in Eddie Hearn, in the promoters part of all of this. So I put it to you again, the only individual who should have the finger pointed at them this morning is Eubank Jr.
Well, Eubank Jr. puts out quite a lot of stuff, doesn't he? And obviously we've got to deal with that. Put stuff out yesterday, we're dealing with that as well. And it was still ongoing with the previous information stuff he put out. So I don't want to go any further than that, but we're still on ongoing. Just want to get we make sure that everything's in place for the next tournament, as we would do for all the tournaments this week. Right? It's not just this show, all shows, and make sure they work correctly. We've done everything we possibly can, investigating anything that was raised. And don't forget, we did that before it was raised at the press conference. That was all done before that, and it's claimed we didn't investigate it. Unfortunately, that's not right. We did investigate it because we investigate anything with regard to a show. We look at anything after every single show. If we can change things, we will. We've had meetings already now. We're ready for the show to take place. And as long as everything works on well and behaves themselves, we'll have a very successful show.
Robert, do you think athletes and sportsmen have a responsibility to operate at the highest level themselves in terms of the sport itself is held to its highest standard, the governance around it has to be held to its highest standard? Do you think in situations like this that sportsmen themselves should operate at the highest level and not attempt potentially to drag the sport into disrepute?
Yes, I do. They're professional athletes. They should behave themselves and they act accordingly. Yes.
One other.
That's in any sport, Simon. Any sport.
Oh, I know, but in a sport, but even more so in a sport like this, because the jeopardy that goes with this sport.
Absolutely.
I mean, one other slightly worrying aspect of this, Robert, is that some might construe it that we have a fighter here who's fighting again at the same venue and is going about this in a way that some would construe he's trying to promote this fight.
Well, all I can tell you, Jim, is that I'm satisfied that the procedures in place for his next contest are there, and I'm satisfied they meet our criteria. And he will be looked after as long as he does everything well, does everything properly. He will be looked after just like any other boxer.
But there'll be the procedures and standards that go into the second fight will be no lesser or better than the procedures and standards that went into the first fight.
Absolutely not. There's the same procedures and standards. As long as everybody does their job correctly, it should work perfectly.
Robert Smith, thank you very much indeed. Robert, I must say, whenever we ask you to come on, and we ask you to come on live, you very rarely, if ever, let us down. And this morning is no exception. Robert Smith, the General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control. So they go again, Simon, the two of them. But, I mean, the build-up to this fight is somewhat muddied by material like this, is it not?
Yeah.
This is boxing.
I mean, you can't make those sort of... I mean, my initial reaction to it was that the jurisdiction surrounding access and control and the provision of services would be that of the venue holder. So when the accusation was thrown across the table at Eddie Hearn, I knew what Eddie was trying to do, which was solicit an exact accusation so he can smack Eubank with a defamation or a slander case, which may well be what's happening. And Robert doesn't want to be drawn into a conversation to prejudice any outcome that might be coming Chris Eubank Jr.'s way, because you can't just say what you want. We've seen Chris do this before. We've seen Chris run his mouth off at a press conference and call Frank Warren a scumbag and tell everyone that he was running around the industry ripping people off, and then having to apologise for it. This is a narrative that's being peddled out around this fight because the only narrative they've got left is unfinished business. And the only unfinished business they've got left is the fact they want to rinse some more money out of everyone's pocket that wants to watch the same thing again. Yeah. So the narrative now is, let's pitch it. Connor's not biting. Connor's not getting involved in the same conversations. He can't slap him in the face with an egg anymore. So let's go after the second narrative, which was like, I've shut Hearn down in press conferences. I'm now going to attack the integrity of the promoter. And there's some people that think that Eddie doesn't care about his fighters and will play into that narrative and it will seed in their mind a thought process they already have. In this instance, I think it's a reach. I think it's a real reach. And it's a real dangerous position to make allegations of this sort. Yeah. And if you've got real substance behind it, showing people not being able to get an ambulance out of an environment that's probably busy with lots of other people is not the same as suggesting that Eddie Hearn has materially stopped an ambulance from going out of the environment so you can get to hospital. And quite frankly, why would you want to do that?
There's one final aspect of this. There's no name on this message. Tragically ironic that White Hart Lane was where Eubank Sr. ended Michael Watson's career.
Yes.
Insufficient medical support on site, no ambulance. As a result, new rules and medical requirements were introduced.
Well, in this instance, if there's no substance behind Eubank's assertions, then it becomes even more unpalatable what he's saying, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It is 10 to 11 this Tuesday morning.